Alright, in this video I'm hoping to get this body back on the chassis. So we'll see how this goes. I don't know. It's pretty dirty right now from sitting right here, but we're going to ignore that for now and work on getting the body gaskets lined up to go on here. So what I like to do is use these clamps to hold them in place. And I'll go ahead and cut it right here. So like that there, just cut it. I'm going to run my other one all the way to the edge here. You can do it either way, make it over there or the other way. And then this one here, I'll go ahead and cut this one straight. And I'm going to use silicone to seal these together. So I like to do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and make my holes. And I'll use silicone on the seams to hold it together. That's the way I do it. So I use my ice pick here. Make sure I'm right in the middle of the hole. Mark all the holes with that. Now if I can remember where I put my hole punch, that'd be good. So I'll just run around and do these right now while I'm thinking. Let's see. To be right in the center. A little hard to do, and I'm holding you guys, you know. But that's all right. You guys blow my concentration sometimes, you know. Anyway, here's the last one down here at the end. I think I'm in the right place. Oh, maybe back a little bit. Okay. So I'll take that off there. So with the little hole punch like I've got here, they have these at Harbor Freight Tools. You just take your block of wood, look for your punch spot where you punch through it. I like to use the biggest one they have in the set. Punches a nice big hole. Looks like factory. Yeah. Do them all like that. We're good to go. Alright, so I went ahead and got the gaskets on there. We'll let it sit overnight. So I was kind of in a hurry there. So I get you guys all into it. I just poked a hole, then poke a hole in there, and then just stretch it around each one of these rivets. Then I went ahead and also put silicone under areas all the way along, little dots of silicone all the way along. The one I used is that Mega Black. You guys that watch my channel, that stuff's way better than the Permatex. Just really strong. So once it's dry, maybe I need one right there. Hold this down. All the areas down, so I got it glued here, there, all the way along. You know, every few inches all the way along. This one didn't have the rivets to hold it in, so I had to do it all the way along. I got boards in it where it wants to be fussy. It's in the right place. Oh, my drilling just got a little bit off, but not too bad. Hopefully that won't matter too much. If I have to, I'll just notch them out a little bit more as necessary. For the gasket, at least, the holes should line up. We will find out later, hopefully in this video. Cool. Alright, so I've got all this glued down overnight. Just left weights on there. Now I've got these pads in place. The only thing I don't know is there's 3 different thicknesses of these pads, so once you tighten it down, you mount your doors, then you'll know whether they're the right ones or not. Because the doors can be misaligned. Once you go and tighten everything down, the doors will whatever, and it'll tweak the body a little bit, and then your doors either will shut or not shut. So then you got to change the thickness of those pads. There's 3 different ones. They have them at Wolfsburg West. Then I've got to put these ones on. I guess they go on the bottom right here. I don't know, it's been a while since I've had one of these off, so I'll just put those on there so I don't forget. And then put it down. Then I'm going to run it to the other side of the shop and put it up in the lift and tighten it up over there. So yeah, so you can see all these lined up pretty good. Nice big holes so you can waddle it around a little bit. You may have to do a little bit more still yet to get them to fit. Not a big deal, pretty normal. Man, does that ever feel better having that thing back on its body on the pan. Whew, I was so tired of having that pan sitting out there. Yeah, it looks good too. You can't see a wave in it. There's waves in it. You can feel them, but they're not showing at all. I knew they wouldn't show. You guys that, you can get it perfect, or you can fake it a little and nobody will ever know if you're careful enough. Only guys will know is you, and a couple of your buddies might be picky enough to even notice it. But I don't know. We got a helicopter flying around, so hopefully, thought he was going away, but he keeps on flying around. So watching all the people barbecue, I guess, today. Thanks for the nice noise. Thank you. Thank you. All right, you guys, this stuff is normal. I mean, I don't know, I love it when guys go, I never get any orange peel or runs. It's because you did this after you were done. Gotta get it down nice and flat. They give it a little sand. Really takes no time to fix. It really doesn't. Takes a long time to color sand and buff the whole thing, believe me. A couple runs are a lot easier to fix than a lot of orange peel. And I made sure I didn't have much orange peel, that's for sure. I don't want to have to sand that all out. But this stuff right here is just a cinch. Do that. Hit with the DA with some 2000 grit. take a look at it after it's buffed and see if anything showed up. Maybe nothing. Sometimes you get a little something that shows up and then you just fix it. It's real easy. Nothing compared to sanding out a whole nasty heavy orange peel. And then sometimes when you get that heavy, too heavy of an orange peel and you're trying to get it out, you can sand it all you want and it's just still there when you buff it. So you got to have it pretty good. That's why on a bus I'll use a better spray gun than on the other ones. On these, on a bug, it's kind of round, so anything that's rounder, you don't need to worry about it as much. You could use a Harbor Freight gun and usually get it pretty good, but I don't know. Those things waste a lot of paint. Spend a little more money. Well, the Spectrum gun doesn't. That one's a really good gun. Spectrum and the Black Widow, but you know, you're spending a couple $100, so there are a lot of guns for that price you can get. A lot of different ones. It always does this around these little eyes. And it won't show up because you're just going to be behind there, but I don't know, it just kind of bugs me. So I saw these things coming down. And you're walking the edge. There is to it. I got a bunch of them, just a few. I mean, it's not that many. Just a few little spots. And then there's a little one. This was a big run. And I actually floated out to that little spot right there, and that's it. Had to hit it with the first coat. First coat, it was starting to come down, and I was like, everything was run. It was dry to touch. Almost, and this was still wet, so I know if I went over that again it was just going to keep coming down, so I had to pick it up a little bit with a piece of tape. Just take tape and loop it and just kind of pull off some of it. That's what you do. A lot of practice. Fix it while it's going on if you can. I was a little bit of a hurry because of the wind. I got too late into the day. All that stuff makes a difference. And you kind of figure, you know, what's going to be worse. You know, am I going to, if I wait too long at the end of the day and the booth blows down on me, you know, what's going to be worse? So shoot it and hope you don't get any more. So you got only so much time and so many decisions you can make, and you figure out what you can leave and what you can't, and just keep going. And when you get done, worst thing happens. If you get something, you just repaint that area. It's no big deal. I've done that for years. I've done hundreds of cars I've did years ago, and I mean, I still do it. And I get a bad spot in it, I'll just mask off that little area and spray it. It's done. It just happens. You just fix it. That's the way it is. People think, oh yeah, it's got to come out of the booth perfect. No, it doesn't. It's all what you do after. Before and after is all where all the work is on painting. So here's the reason I like to have it up on the car lift. I was trying to get that threaded piece to line up with the holes. I was just a little bit off. It must have moved a little bit when I was welding it in, but it's no big deal. All I got to do is get that threaded piece to slide around. What I do is I take a longer bolt, because even over here where it lined up, of course, it wasn't long enough to get into the threads. And of course, I'm going past them now. They're moved around. It's always hard to get these threads to line up on these front ones. I've taken off pans off of cars, you know. People go, oh, I use a jig and all this stuff. Okay, and you could do everything right. I could take the pan off of the same car and put it right back on. Didn't even do the heater channels, and always have. Sometimes these suckers would just go right in, and then sometimes they're doing like this one is. It walks up to the side. Same thing with these. Most of them line up. You can see. If you can see anything, I can't. You can't really. I put a screwdriver in there, and it lines up. So, but you know. Sometimes you got to jack the pan up on one side, down, just because what happens is the thickness of the new gasket is thicker than the old one, and that's because it's new, you know, it has to crush. So you're always fighting that a bit to get these to line up. So I hate taking pans on and off with the gaskets on them, especially. It's always a pain. I only do it when I need to, and I did need to on this car. So I'll bring it back in when I figure it out. I just got to poke in there with the poker and move the thing around and find the threads and then put it in the hole. A lot easier to do up on the lift, so that's why I brought it over here. All right, well, pardon the background noise, but I'm just going to show you what I had to do. I had to get in there and with my hook and then pry it up and get these things in the right place. Sometimes, you know, the other side, I got these two in, but I had to thread that really long bolt in first in one of them, and then I ended up being on the wrong threads. I don't know. I guess I had this one threaded in instead of that one, and I just had to take it back out and then move it around a little bit more until I saw put those same threads on this one, tightened it up with that long bolt, and then got this one in, and again finally got the other one in. It takes a bit of work to get these front ones in, and all the other ones are just slightly off. But once I get these ones in here, okay, I got the front ones in, then I'll jockey the pan around and get them all in there loose. Start messing around until it lines up, and it should line right up. The way it looks like all of them are like a little bit forward all the way on both sides. So yeah, and the good heater channel and the bad one didn't matter. And yeah, so that's the issue there. But once they're all the same. Once I get them all, so I get these ones in, these ones always go first. And then the rest of them, you just kind of get whatever ones line up and then jockey it around. And sometimes you got to take them back out, put them back in 2 or 3 times. That's why I tell everybody, when you put any new heater channels in, drill and re-weld all the weld nuts, because you will have to take them on and off a couple times before you get it. Or if you get done and you just can't deal with it anymore, just put a sheet metal screw in there. And I've done that before and back to the old days, but don't really want to do that on, you know, restoration now. But I remember back years ago, the weld nut would come out, and the only fix was just put a nice sheet metal screw in there. Lovely. You're going to like that one when you do it. All right, talk to you guys a little bit later. All right, so they're all on. This was a little bit of a pain here, but it's fine now. So that's all fixed up. The gasket's all smashed down really good underneath here. So everything's on. You know, it's just one of those things you got to be patient. People go, oh yeah, I put it all in with 2 fingers. What happens is the rubber, it always ends up moving when you put the pan on. I've done enough of these to know that that's bullshit. You don't just put them in with 2 fingers, every single one of them, unless you had giant holes where you put out, you know, and you shouldn't be making the holes that big where you put your bolts. because it's going to move a little bit, and then that's always what happens. And it's just that is the problem. It's not the metal. I don't, you know, you just take a screwdriver and you put it in the hole and you line it up. And, you know, the body moves around a little bit trying to put it on, so you leave them loose. And you just got to go around and tighten them down and then loosen them back up. And finally, they all go in. And I've done enough of them that I know they're all the same. Yeah, I could take one pan off, you know, the same car. It didn't even do heater channels or pan halves on it or anything. Put it back on and have the same amount of trouble as I did on this one. Now, a lot of guys go, hey man, Mike, why don't you take the bodies off the pan, you know, on all your jobs? It's like, once you've done this a few times, you go, screw that. There's no reason to. It's a lot of work. It's not like it just goes right on like butter. Because like I said, all those places that the gasket, you know, gets in the way, and then I got to get my rotor tool out. This thing here, it's not to clean, it's not to do the metal. It's fine. It fits on there. You just take a screwdriver and center it. It's the stupid little rubber gasket gets caught, and then you end up, you know, it's stuck in there, and you're moving it around. You push it away, and it comes back at you. Doesn't stay in the same place, you know. So you end up having to cut a little bit more of it away because when you put the body on, it slid a little bit, or just, you know, I put silicone on there to hold it in place, and it still does it every time. You always end up with that problem. But yeah, as far as if you guys were wondering, did it fit? Did the heater channels, the pieces go on? And actually, the driver's side where I had replaced the cell plates actually went on better than the other side where it had original heater channels. So go figure that one. I had more trouble. I had to wallow out, I think, one hole back there, just the way it is, you know. So tell me it's the way it was welded in. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just they're not perfectly fit. They don't perfectly fit everything. You know, you're going to have to do a little bit of stuff to them. Would I ever put a body back on and do it? Yeah, well, yeah, I would if there was no references left. Like if these things were rotted out, the bottoms of these were rotted out, back quarters were rotted out, definitely I would put the heater channels back on the car. I would weld them in, tack them in place. I'd put the doors on and I'd shut them. But when it's in a good shape like this one was, it's just, I've done enough of them that I know I'm just wasting my time. If I put it back on the body, I'm going to end up with the same result as I have right now. Everything fits. So another thing I'll tell you guys that are doing this stuff, you know, there's guys like Brian Washburn who uses a jig to put the pan halves on. And the reason he does that is because when he puts those pan halves on with a jig, guys are going to get home and they're going to have the same struggle that I had putting the body back on. It's just normal for that type of job. It just takes a while to do. You have to put it on, lift it up a little bit, tighten up the bolts, loosen them back up, you know, get it situated. It moves a little bit, and then finally it finds its place. And then, you know, then everything finally goes in. But, you know, you have a guy that just had pan halves put on, and if he uses that jig, he can just say, hey, you know what? I used a jig. See the jig I used? When I put these on, it's perfect. Typically, you don't even need to use that, and it'll be perfect. So, but the reason those guys do that stuff is because when a customer takes the car home and he puts his body on his pan, and it doesn't just bolt in with two fingers, you know, because he heard on YouTube somebody bolts their pan on with two fingers, every bolt. Right. Yeah. Okay. Good one. But anyway, if, you know, that's what those guys do. That's what they do it for. And I'm just going to tell you, we're going to put your body in your pan. Usually it's a little tricky. Usually there's some places you got to jack up and move around. This one I didn't have to jack up at all. I didn't have to jack it up and work it like a lot of them I've done. I've had to jack up like the pan on one side and then put the bolts in and then let it back down, and then it was fine. You know, this one didn't have to do that at all. It was just everything. I think the body was on every bolt, both sides, was perfectly, everything was forward just a little bit. So I had to push it back with a screwdriver. I had to push the body back. So I guess that's the body. Yeah, the body, I had to push the body forward. It was too far back. I was trying to push it, I had to push it forward. So, you know, everyone I had to put it in the hole and push it, do this with it so that the body would slide forward. And that was on both sides evenly, exactly the same. And again, I did not take this and put it on the pan and check it, just because, again, I know it's going to be right. It's just as long as my reference points. The difference part that I did that I don't usually do is the sill plate on this side. And the sill plate, you know, they're not made very well. In the front, I had to drill because it was literally the holes were off on the sill plate. And I think I knew that when I set the sill plate on top of the other one, you know, on top of the heater channel, and looked at it and went, oh, that's going to be fun. And those front ones are always a real pain, trying to get those threads, the threaded things to hold in place. The best way to do it, if you're ever doing one of these, is take a long bolt and put it in there, and then you can kind of twist it back and forth, and then you can get the other one in. You get the regular size bolt in, get that one started, and then, you know, get that one in, take the other long one out, put the regular short one in, and usually it'll be fine. It just, you got to finagle it. You got to look up in the hole. That's why I had the car up on the lift. You know, doing it on the ground, I've done it. It sucks. You do that once, you'll be like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Maybe you guys can comment on that. You've done it before. Anyway, that's it for this, I guess. We'll get the body back on. I'm going to do the assembly now. Got a wiring harness. Got a brand new wiring harness. I got, you know, I'm going to put the doors on. It doesn't look like it matches. No, it's just dirty. Should match fine. If it doesn't, I'll just spray and blend the sides. You know, it's possible because, you know, they're sprayed at different times and all that. But in different air pressure, maybe. I kept everything pretty much the same. So we'll see. We'll see. On this color, I wouldn't doubt it. It's really tricky to spray. Really hard to get the metallics even. So, yeah, it was a real tough one. Anyway, that's it for that, guys. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.